A powerful morning to all the Unbreakables.
Powerful work, very powerful traditions. We have very powerful ones, powerfully.
I think you often hear from me. Barber shopper, fighter, nafrontnik, winner of the Frint, Frinta, Dronowit, and all sorts of other epithets and adjectives.
But today I will show them to you in person.
Naturally, I will also show you what's in the headlines, the horrors happening at the front, and the devastation faced by ordinary soldiers.
That is the top brass of these very barber shoppers who are sitting at the top. But first I will show you what else is happening. Before the front, how ordinary people are being mistreated. Those very veterans of these Napoleonic wars who claim that they're sick, that their stomach hurts after the restaurant, saying the borscht was too sour. Let's see what's happening in the real world with real people. There was a man sitting. A man was sitting in his yard. I couldn't tell if it was an apartment or a house when several manhunters passed by.
A child threw his toy at one of them to protect right here. I'll show it all later. They shoved him into a van for resistance.
See how many of these so-called frontliners there are.
They got into the car and left. Well, that's how things are. And before we start again, please subscribe to the Telegram channel. You can watch the full video there.
YouTube doesn't really welcome showing these violent actions, swearing and all that. Point your phone or tablet camera at this QR code and you get where you need to go.
If you're watching me on a mobile device, there's a link right here to the Telegram channel.
Then there's another video, they say it's better at home. There are several clips, one of them stood out to me especially.
There's a middle-aged man from abroad going summer in Ukraine from his daughter's place. He gets out, breathes in the air of freedom. Then he talks, calls his daughter.
I won't turn back to you. I won't come back to you. That's what he says. Because it's better at home. They show that at home and the prices are low there too.
Well, of course, they're just like in Europe or even higher.
And the air of freedom. Now I'll show it to you too.
And many other privileges of a citizen of the Ukrainian state. As for privileges, for example, a Latvian who came here, I don't know for what purpose, was met by draft grabbers. He was beaten. I won't show it in full again, I won't repeat myself. You can watch this video on my Telegram channel on your smartphone or tablet.
And then the Latvian shows later, showing his passport. But what did they do to him? And naturally he's surprised. Yes, he speaks surprisingly well.
By the way, he speaks Russian, but he's not a citizen of Russia or Ukraine.
And now let's move on to these barbershop guys. We took a look at what's going on. Out in the open, so to speak. Where people are accused of all sorts of things, ordinary citizens. The military threatens civilians. I actually have more than one video of this.
And now let's see what an ordinary soldier looks like. This man is an ordinary soldier. Take a look and please remember what soldiers at the front look like.
Emaciated with sad eyes. And yet this man still manages to shave. If I were in his place, I'd probably already have a huge beard, like those barbershop guys.
You know, the ones who come out now. I'll show them too.
Let's listen to what this man has to say.
Good afternoon. I serve in the 100 Brigade Horse Battalion, 1st Company, call sign Genka. I'm recording this video so that the world can influence things, so that we at least get some packages sent us, because we just can't hold on anymore. There's no water, nothing to eat. For over a day we had only a drop of water. I'm not alone. There are 3 of us. That's how things are.
I deliberately didn't interrupt or comment because this is a real soldier who doesn't even have proper water to drink, let alone food. And now I'll show you someone who pretends to be a soldier, who pretends to be at the front. This is the so-called Uheles, that's his nickname. He even sells his own merch.
And I showed you that guy on March 8th where he smeared his face with mud and said, "Here we are with the guys on a mission, we're coming back." You saw a man who was on a mission, and now compare him to this character, this wonder. I call him one of those barbershop guys. You can immediately see the difference between a soldier and the deputy of the Kiev Regional Council, or whoever he is, pretending to be a serviceman.
Continuing these hostilities is intended to destroy Ukrainian statehood in order to destroy everything Ukrainian. Powerfully.
You listen to him and you just want to say, well, so powerfully, right from the heart, Sanesh. All of this, well, it really hit hard. A tear rolls down my unshaven cheek.
The enemy needs to destroy statehood and those who have this statehood within them.
He tries to act, pokes his fingers here and there, uses all these tricks, but as Stanislavski said, I don't believe it.
Ukrainians. Enemy unit.
And you saw those pink little fingers too. I'll rewind the footage now, if I can.
To destroy those who have this sense of statehood inside them.
Well, just imagine, if that soldier showed his fingers, his joints and joint capsules would look like this. But here we have a manicure, pink little fingers, and this shiny glowing skin.
Силам оборони відомі наміри противника, і сили оборони зроблять максимум для того.
Who are the defense forces? Is it these guys sitting in a restaurant fighting with borscht or different drinks, maybe even with craft beer? It's hard to fight it, especially as alcohol content rises. It's a tough battle and mornings are brutal, a counterattack from the enemy.
Kupiansk stood and remained under the blue and yellow flag, thanks to the activities of the 409th Achilles Regiment and other specialized structural units. It is possible to organize the necessary routes for passage.
Okay, did you watch it? Now we are showing a real soldier again. And the one who's sitting in the studio right now, the guy I showed at the beginning, he is also Achilles. One of them is Shabunin, I think that's his name. He was discharged because he can't see properly. He was mobilized, there was an outcry all over the world, just an uproar when this character was arrested. Oh, I meant mobilized, I misspoke. He later bought a Tesla, was accused of corruption, and claimed he deserved the car. He invited a real soldier to the studio, and let's look again at the difference between barbershop guys and real soldiers. Well, just look, the man has a half-healed scar. His eyelids are red because he hasn't slept enough. His uniform, although clean, clearly shows that he wears it all the time. They, like those characters, put on some ironed shirts. Their hair is styled too. You can immediately tell it's all done in a rush, unlike this person, the one who was here before. And let's listen, this is exactly the military man I was talking about, the one who criticizes the top leadership. Let's listen carefully to what he has to say. Sorry, there's a lot of swearing here, but it's deserved. Because of all people. And you can't accuse a person who has returned from the front lines of not speaking the right way or not constructing sentences properly. But these pseudo-journalists who appear before our very eyes, pretending to be service members or just super patriots, can't speak at all. Those people deserve to be fully criticized, but this person absolutely does not.
Nothing changes.
Damn, let's be honest, what has changed?
Oh, right, but at least they made war look cool. Fucking great, thanks. Yeah, I, Kuzma, said thank you for this fucking mess.
Well, what can you do?
You can see that this person has psychological problems. I mean, I'm sure he hasn't slept enough, just got out from the front lines. So apparently he's on leave for a day or so. His eyelids are swollen, again red, and his reactions aren't quite normal. I mean, he's twitching. Again, you can see that things aren't alright, that's for sure. Forgive me for the paradox, but that's normal for someone who spent more than a day at the front, unlike that character with that face and that beard, sitting there poking around with his pink fingers, telling stories about villages and about Osanech, Ukraine. We all know that here.
It's interesting, all this stuff died for that guy. We, for example, haven't been on rotation for 3 years. You get it? Got it.
3 years a person has been at the front line without rotation, just imagine that. And here we see a real person. Maybe he volunteered, maybe he was mobilized. It doesn't really matter, but his reaction is absolutely understandable.
Damn, this is one of the reasons why when you come back on leave, it's really hard mentally and psychologically. You just messed up, broken, beaten down. You can hardly walk, but you're still fighting. Meanwhile, these guys, just 3 of them could take out half a company, are driving around in fancy cars like Maybachs. What's with that?
Well, like, where the hell are they?
What the hell are we fighting for? Where's the justice?
Do you believe that anything will change?
Well, you really have to start from the other side. How can you even start there? There's nothing to start with. You just need a couple of brigades there, damn it, with drivers. To build, you must move it. Understood? That's the enemy within. I'm already starting to feel like this refugee, a real refugee, you know, inside.
That's the enemy inside. That's what a frontline soldier says, not those others. And now I'll show you another person I've already shown before, but again, just for comparison. Look, here's a guy from the front line. And can you imagine? She's trying to pretend she's from the front line, but just look at this character. Well, just compare the 2 shots, right? Or compare him, the middle-aged man from the first shot, and this character. I don't even know how she managed to fit into that body armor at all, but somehow she did. This character's name is Yevgen. He actually says, sign the contract. I'm not sure what kind of cooking contract this is. Maybe a sausage and borscht deal, but it seems profitable, so let it be.
The Karishes say funny crossovers. Meanwhile, all the civilians are afraid that all of Venice is coming.
The civilians are afraid.
No, it's enough. There's enough work.
It's enough. There's enough work. It's enough. It's not enough.
We need everything.
We don't go to work as if it's some kind of burden. It's a joy for us. That's what I'll say. We arrive here and it's a completely different world.
Yeah, you come here. Well, that's how things are. Now you understand, right? The difference between... That's why I always say, I pay attention to skin color, to hairstyle, to this unfortunate beard, to the eyes, to the hands. Well, I think you get it. Many already understood, but if not, then here is just a striking contrast. Well, now let's take a look at Paramoga. There are several victory reports in different articles from various sources. And we were told, for example, with Paramoga, that Ukrainian drone operators defeated an American brigade during an exercise in Germany. How should we interpret this? Well, good for them. Maybe they won somewhere in chess, or in cards, or played the game of Oczko and won that too. Or they lost, and they shit themselves. Or maybe they outdrank their opponent. Or something else, I don't know. But these are just ordinary games. Recently, that same Zaluzhny, that so-called Iron General, said that NATO is not needed for us because NATO is already lagging behind the Ukrainian army. And overall, that's actually true. Because the last time NATO actually fought was in Bosnia and Herzegovina many years ago. Or somewhere in some back alleys of Iraq. Well, there NATO was only represented by the US. And those veterans, so to speak, of the Iraq wars, if you can call them that, apparently aren't serving anymore either. And now they're telling us that some Ukrainian drone operators have defeated an American brigade. Well, go play StarCraft or something else. Win there too, and then tell the whole world about it. Well, it's something like that. Obviously, Ukrainian drone operators, if they're actually serving there, or even just training every day, would defeat those guys, because the drones are different, and the tactics are different too. But it's presented as a victory, right? It's a victory, isn't it? Meanwhile, the people on the front lines don't even have water or food. And here they are supposedly beating some American brigades in exercises in Germany. Then they go and drink some craft beer again. Thank you, and let's keep on winning. Again. Another victorious statement from the new head of the Ministry of Defense, with a broad, complicated face, says that Russia will burn. Wow, the planes are flying, we're going to bomb. And here we have Zelensky showing a thumbs up. And here he is, consulting with his advisors. And that guy, what's his name? Oh well, it doesn't matter anymore. Dropyade or something? Ah, Yevhen Khmara, right. So, what statement does he have?
We will shut down the Russian war machine,
Destroy the infrastructure, destroy the fleet, destroy the logistics, the fuel and energy facilities, and the enterprises that are working for the war against Ukraine. He called the operation against Novorossiysk unique because of how different types of weapons worked simultaneously.
and the combined strike was carried out with missiles, jet drones, and naval drones. Russia was powerless.
Against the synchronized operation of Ukrainian strike systems. This is the result of joint efforts and synergy, which is growing stronger in the defense forces.
Honestly, I don't know where they learned the word synergy, but good for them. The same thing on that same site where Zelensky is shown in close-up giving a thumbs up.
Everyone did great, powerful, says Zelensky. He published detailed reports of the night operation against Novorossiysk. Can you smell that whiff of victory? Life got better for everyone, the economy got back on its feet. I mean, it soared! It soared! We were already practically standing on tiptoes, and now we've actually risen into the air. Economic levitation. What a twist. And there was a report, says Zelensky, on the results of our operation against Novorossiysk today.
Combined use of long-range sanctions with our weapons, a successful operation, wrote Zelensky.
He even wrote about the missile with different names. He thanked the soldiers, and in general the whole front, in short, worked as it should. Well, it's powerful, but you can't say anything against it. Everyone approves. Then there was also the Victorious report of 745 square kilometers. That's about what, 20 by 35 kilometers or so. Zelensky summed up the results of the Ukrainian armed forces offensive in the Alexandrovsk direction as well. Here are soldiers back and forth, Russian losses adding to the prisoner swap pool. At least it's not a seminar. Well, in this case, thank God, the territory there was again liberated, captured, helped some more. After all this, Zelensky, with a serious look, declares that Putin will stop the war. Ukraine, he says, has a plan to put pressure on the Russian Federation to end the war. And we need, he says, to move the war onto Russian territory. After that, Russian society will feel the consequences of this war and will put pressure on the authorities. Well, that's how it looks. Rallies, strikes and referendums happen, and in the Russian Federation they are held in central Moscow. It's called Kurban Bayram, yes. So what next? Next, he headed off for another diplomatic victory. I don't know if that Sibiha guy, the foreign minister, was with him, you know, that powerful comrade. But maybe not. Zelensky had a very successful trip to Belgrade. Then Albania in general. Now the Ukrainian has difficulties in Albania because Zelensky visited Kosovo. What did he do? He stated that Ukraine does not recognize the independence of Kosovo. He did this to continue receiving Serbian weapons. Vučić didn't give any Serbian weapons. As a result, the leaders of Albania and Serbia had a public argument, and the Ukrainian flag was removed from the center of Pristina. Powerful, powerful. Just a born diplomat. Well, there it is, that's a victory. And seriously, he did make a statement. Our position on the unilateral declaration of independence of Kosovo. It remains unchanged, as we've always emphasized, and Ukraine's policy is the same. We also thank our partners for respecting Ukraine's territorial integrity and sovereignty, including, of course, the fact that Crimea belongs to Ukraine. The next day in Kosovo, a large Ukrainian flag was removed from a building in central Pristina. The mayor of the city, Pirparim Rama, stated that when Kosovo is not respected, the capital Pristina always reacts the same way. And today I saw on TikTok a Ukrainian who was complaining that problems with Ukrainians have started in Albania. And Albanians, who before Zelensky's visit to Serbia, treated Ukrainians very well. And now, he says, everything changed immediately. They took down that flag. And, he says, maybe they will even stop accepting documents. Well, in general, there just isn't a stronger leader. I've never seen one. He's the one, the very best, the absolute top. On the front line, so to speak, and all that. Why did Albania get involved? Because it supports Kosovo, where the majority of the population are ethnic Albanians.
The prime minister of that country accused Serbia of living in a political bubble and refusing to recognize the loss of control over the region that happened many years ago. Basically, Zelensky stirred up a hornet's nest there so much that even if he had planned a special operation to destabilize the situation in those countries, I don't think it could have gone any better. So he arrived as a leader, apparently prepared by some former school kids without any education, and said what was written for him, or maybe he just decided to show off his own erudition.
Well, and now that's how things are. I even find it difficult to comment.
Well, what else can be destroyed? Well, honestly, there's a lot, I agree. But to destroy something like this, you really need to have talent. Now, regarding the idea that people in Russia should feel the breath of war, yes, as Zelensky says, society needs to discuss what they are writing to us here. If there's a prolonged lack of heating, not in Russia but in Kiev, they are making lists of people to relocate. I'm tired of commenting, I'm tapped out. Someone else comment on this. Let's describe it in the comments, this is just crazy. On one hand, we hear those barbershop guys with broad faces, developed from consuming a large amount of the enemy's food. And on the other hand, we read the following. In Kiev, in August, they are making lists of residents with limited mobility who may need temporary relocation in case of a prolonged lack of heating due to Russian shelling. This was reported by the deputy chairperson of the Kiev City Council, Marina Honda. Well, at least it's not Hyundai, that's something. We're talking about elderly people, people with disabilities, and families with children with disabilities. Well, this is how I imagine an ordinary citizen who sees such an announcement. Well, there's really nothing to read here at all. Then they say that now they won't talk about how many missiles have hit Ukraine. Just like that. Because there's some higher wisdom there. And this character named, I don't know, Ignat is his name. Or is Ignat his last name or his first name? His name is Yuri, but at the same time it's a game. Ignat, it's like the president of the Czech Republic. He is both Pyotr and Pavel. And here it's both Yuri and Ignat. Well, in short, the person Yuri Ignat stated that the armed forces of Ukraine have not stopped informing the public about air threats, the nature of enemy attacks, and the results of combat operations. It's just, well, it turns out that, well, we don't report. Well, we just don't report, that's all. But we haven't stopped. That's the whole message. That's how it is. So he's saying, you know, because journalists are describing our actions incorrectly, we won't provide information about these actions to journalists anymore. Well, that's powerful too. Victory, victory, there's nothing you can do. And the most victorious thing is that now Ukrainian consulates will automatically add Ukrainians to the military register. You came to get a passport, a foreign passport, to renew your residence permit card. Here you go, military registration, there you have it, or Reserve Plus. Take it. Then they'll take you and deport you in a year or two, when this situation escalates quite a bit. I'm actually looking now abroad in many democratic countries, not in all countries, but the European Union reacts differently. But of course, the Czech Republic really stood out in this regard when they started refusing citizens who are supposed to receive temporary protection. And moreover, they said that if you already have temporary protection, then this status, well, it's valid until 2028 or whatever year. And now they say that when you come to extend it, you get refused. Well, that's how it is. And these military registrations, because it's not happening for no reason, it's all part of a connected system. What is Europe hoping for, honestly? I can hardly imagine when it comes to this. But as for deporting, for now, they won't deport anyone. So yes, they deny temporary protection, but in many countries people live just fine and even work as illegals. They get hired for jobs, though employers may be fined. But if you accept lower pay than locals, you might get hired. Back in the day, I had a lot of acquaintances like that, who came after 2014, when all this was just starting. With a person named Ledokol Krigolam. Poroshenko did pretty much the same thing, not to the same extent. But even then, police, let's say law enforcement officers, were already going around questioning people, asking why they weren't serving, coming to workplaces, handing out notifications, and so on. Please provide information about how many men can potentially serve in the army, in the military.
I'm not telling you this from some third-hand sources or anything like that. This is something I know for sure, 100%, even 148%. That's pretty much what's happening right now. Is it a victory? Yes, it's a victory, but of course.
So let's see what happens in the near future. Write in the comments what you think about this.
Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Bye everyone!
About the 76 suspicions against Territorial Recruitment Center officials of various levels. Are any of them under your supervision?
Thank you. You see, at the moment, I'm not ready to answer your question. I need some time to look into this matter.
How does the Western Operational Command generally deal with violations and abuse of official positions, if there is such corruption in the TCC and SPA? Are there any complaints about corruption in those institutions? Do you detect such cases? What do you do about them?
Here it should be noted that the Western Operational Command has zero tolerance for any violations, abuse of official positions, and similar misconduct.